guys? What is up? Tomboy Official, what is up? What is going on? Yeah, posting has been a little difficult lately. Things are good. I just haven't been fully wanting to fill people in on completely what is going on or what I'm up to. But it's not bad. It's just, I don't know. I'm not going to talk about it too much. I actually did record like a whole episode about it, and then I was like, let me just not. But things are good. Things are moving forward in a direction that I like. But yeah, it's been a little bit. It's been very sunny. It's been very warm. I like that. I like the sun, but it's kind of hard for things to be fully comfortable. I'm home a lot, so, and I don't know, being not home a lot, I don't think that would really help the situation either. I'm just grateful that my car has AC, and thankfully it's in good enough condition. So, at least according to me, I probably need to take it and get it inspected just for like a routine. But I'm about to be back to working on a bike, not a motorcycle, but a like a BMX bike. Mongoose. I found it. One of my down the street neighbors was giving it away. Well, they had it just laid outside with a sign that said free. And I picked it up. I realized it was like pretty rusty. But otherwise, other than the rust, it's in good condition. It's got all the parts. So I'm basically just trying to remove the rust and, at least, and inflate the tires and see if it needs a new inner tube or if the tires will hold air. I think by this weekend I want to see if the tires hold air. It took me forever to actually take or get the bolts loosened. I kind of slept on, trying to get I'm trying to drive to the parking spot so I can record, and I don't know why people are moving so slow. It's 6:15 p.m. It's not even like I tried specifically to leave when the traffic was, supposed to be better, and I feel like this is worse than 5 p.m. traffic. But anyways, yeah, it took me a while to get the products that I wanted to use to get the bolts untightened. It's kind of oil, all in one. I didn't get WD-40, which is kind of my classic. I thought I had a can of it somewhere, but I may have tossed it out. When I moved out from San Diego, I did kind of get rid of a whole bunch of my stuff. I called junk removal about stuff that wasn't even junk. I just figured I don't want to pay for storage, and I didn't want to make like multiple trips because I was driving a small Mitsubishi Eclipse, and I was like, if it doesn't fit in my car, it's not coming with me, so that was kind of my attitude about it, and I'm glad about that. But I really don't like being wasteful. That's the only thing. But I feel like, I don't know for sure, but I feel like junk removal places, I would hope that what they do is they remove the junk and then they take maybe what they like. I'm hoping that that's their stance on things, that they kind of just take what they need, or sell it, or find somebody in need and like share it with needy people. I feel like that would probably be an easy task in those kind of settings, because they already have like access to the stuff and they're getting it for free. So I don't know. I'm not too aware of what they do with the stuff, but I do think I kind of feel like I have faith that they would maybe not um, not just completely throw everything out. 'Cause there was some stuff that was pretty, um, like a desk and a desk chair and some things that were just, but I think that's where my WD-40 went. And yeah, I'm gonna spend some time fixing some stuff this weekend, or maybe Thursday night. I don't know. I don't know if I want to spend my Friday night doing that, but I sold a snowboard today. I don't know yet if I was gonna sell a gaming controller. I don't know if I did. Some people spoke to me, but I don't know if I sold it or not. So I haven't heard back. I don't often talk about this on this channel, or on this podcast, but I did have a microdose of shrooms this morning. I can't give you the strain. I don't really know exactly what it was. It was called a nootropic blend, and the website didn't even have any info on the details, and so I really am not certain about what the details are. But I did, I was able to kind of get some of that into my system, and it was pretty surprising. I mean, if I compare today and yesterday, the only thing I really identified was that maybe I woke up too early, but I felt like I slept through the night, but maybe late. Because I saw my YouTube history. I don't know what time I went to sleep Monday night coming into Tuesday, but I saw my my YouTube history, and apparently I must have been up past midnight, because it said in my YouTube history I was listening to something. Like, I fell asleep listening to ASMR. I don't remember how many videos I watched or listened to. And I have premium on YouTube right now to try and be able to listen with my home screen off, or with my screen off in general. It's just for this month. I was like, gift to myself, and then I don't want to pay $18.99 a month for YouTube, but I use it because I was like, I'm trying to improve my sleep and stuff, and it helps to not have commercials. It helps to not have, to keep my screen on and have that little idea in the back of my mind where I'm like, oh, my screen's on, I mean, I guess I could technically change it so that it turns off after 5 minutes or whatever, and then just have it on. But I like to play ASMR videos to help me sleep, help me relax. But what I wanted to talk about today, and I hope you guys like this topic. I might be jumping into a deep end of a topic that might not be suitable, or might not be appealing or appropriate, but I kind of want to go there. It's not anything like major, guys. Calm down. It's not anything like that bad, but people can get offended by anything, so I kind of feel like it's one of those things. It's a little bit controversial. So there's a old movie from apparently 1985. I'm trying to find it. It's a gender-related movie. Okay, it's free on YouTube. It's called Just One of the Guys. And so this movie's free on YouTube, called Just One of the Guys. Now, I think, okay, this is gonna be a complete spoiler. So I'm just gonna spoil the whole thing. So if you want to watch the movie first, you might want to go watch it now, um, and then listen to the rest of this later. But if you will never watch it, or if you don't have access to watching it, I'm mostly going to be talking about my opinions. So, and I feel like it's just kind of suitable for this podcast because, we talk about LGBT stuff, we talk about gender. It was kind of weird to me. It was weird. So basically, Just One of the Guys is a movie from 1985. I was 2 years old when this came out. I'm not gonna tell you all the characters. I guess one of them was uh, the bad guy from Karate Kid, the kid that beat up Daniel-san, um, the ringleader of the kind of bullies. He's also in this movie, and he looked pretty much the same age he did in the Karate Kid. So that's kind of giving you like a timeline of when this was filmed and like released, I guess. So it was kind of a comedy, 80s comedy, but a lot of kind of one of those like gender bendy kind of comedies. Sort not like She's the Man. With Amanda Bynes, it was a little different. Amanda Bynes and Channing Tatum. This one, it's kind of. I feel like it was less tasteful, but I don't know. It brought a lot of complicated kind of thought-provoking things to mind, but I didn't really write them down because I kind of wanted to just like freestyle it. So the movie starts with this, it's set in high school. I want to say the main students are maybe like juniors, maybe seniors, because they're going to prom. There's a prom in this episode, or in this movie. And then the whole point is the main character, who's a female, and has this obsessively horny younger brother that I think goes to the same school, and it's maybe like an underclassman. I don't know. It seems like maybe 1 or 2 years younger. The brother is just insanely just sexual, which is, I'm not shaming people who are, but this is a level that you don't really see that in a lot of modern movies. So basically, this main character, who's a female in high school, believes that she would do better in getting published with her articles, because I think she worked for the high school newspaper. There was a competition through their school to get something published in like a local newspaper, or I think it was a newspaper, and then her article didn't get chosen, so she's going back and forth with this teacher, and the teacher, before they started going back and forth about this article, about why it could have been better, she's in his office, like, browsing through the papers that are there, seeing the grades. Some say good, excellent. Like, I guess there weren't grades, it was just, like, comments, and then got to hers, and hers said good, but the person who won was a guy, and they were telling her, yes, your writing is good, but it's not interesting, because she was writing about, like, the nutritional value of, like, the high school cafeteria food, which was not interesting, but it was informative and important. And it was well written, but she was not good. Like, the other article, whatever, I don't remember if they even said what the article was of the guy who won, but it was a male student who won, and she thought, okay, I'm just getting passed over because I'm a female. So even when she was like roaming through the papers, she saw her paper. I don't know if she saw the one of the guy who won. I don't remember. And then, the teachers come two guy teachers. So the guy who is like in charge of these articles, the one who gave that, assignment for them to, apply uh, for that, for their article to get published and everything. They basically, um, they basically were all, um, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, she she was basically supposed to be, she thought she was better, I guess. And so she's waiting in this classroom or office or something, and here, like, while she's looking at the paper, she overhears this male teacher with another male teacher talking about, this is so inappropriate. One of the students, like, oh, did you see what she was wearing? She was hot or whatever. And I mean, these are high school students that these adult gross teachers are talking about. So there's just so much stuff where I'm like, I don't even know if I want to talk about this, but it's supposed to be a comedy. Nothing happens. Nothing happens where it's like, I don't think anything happens that's like a cancelable offense. Not that I can recall. I think it was up at that border of like taboo topics, I guess you would say. But nothing that seemed to like encourage just people being terrible. Inappropriate, yes. But it wasn't like, I wouldn't say that it would like promote and encourage or like, tempt people to do bad. I wouldn't say it goes that far. So it is a comedy. It is 80s comedy. So, back then there was a lot of stuff that was like there was only one, I think I only saw one black student walking through the cafeteria in the whole movie. I think it's an all white cast. It's fine. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with this. I'm just saying, I don't know if it took place in LA or if it took place somewhere else, but I don't know of many schools in LA that are like all white. But back in the 80s, that was more common. That, there wasn't as much mixing, or even sensitivity or consideration of other races of people and diversity. They were just doing their thing. I don't really know like all the background to all that, but that is one thing I noticed. I was like, oh, there's like one black person that wasn't even like an actual character. They didn't have a role. They were just like a background person. But anyways, she overhears these guys talking about this student, and one student, I guess the teacher who she's gonna see about this, who's coming into his office, he kind of tells the other guy teacher, like, you can lose your job over something like that. And he's like, well, it's not, I don't really care because it's not that good of a job. And then they kind of like chuckle and laugh. And then he kind of realizes, oh, like, she's in my office and she could probably overhear me. So he kind of like tries to straighten up real quick and like act like nothing was going on. And she's kind of like asking him, like, why didn't mine get chosen? I don't remember if she said it, is it because I'm a girl or whatever. And he did make a comment like, oh, like, you're so pretty, like you could be a model or something like that. So she's pissed off, she goes home, and her brother, I guess her parents are out of town for like 2 weeks, but they're still going to school and everything. Her and her brother are still going to school and everything. And so while the parents are out, he's basically taking all these Playboy pinups. There's a scene where literally she's eating breakfast at the table, like upset about, I don't know if it's breakfast or a meal at the table, upset about, not being chosen. And a guy, I don't know what order, if this happened before she went to school that day, or if this is after she comes back from realizing she didn't get chosen. But either way, she's eating breakfast at the table, and her brother is sitting there with like a Playboy, just like looking at it at the table. Like, and I'm just thinking, like, what the heck? And it's maybe because the parents aren't home, you know, maybe because the parents aren't home. And she kind of starts having, you know, I don't know how they end up in his room. And she kind of ends up in his room, and he's like in the process of like posting all these like Playboy pinups all over his walls, and it wasn't even like in a tasteful fashion. Some of them were like sideways, some of them were like hanging like taped off the sides of like the chair and stuff. Like they weren't like, you could tell he's kind of joking, but it's like, you know, he's all like, you know, trying to talk about how he's trying to lose his virginity and have sex and all this kind of stuff. And you know, the like she's talking to her brother saying like, I wish, you know, it's so much easier for you being a guy. I wish I could be a guy, then I could get my article published, kind of thing. And he was like, oh, like the male body needs sex all the time, or something weird like that. And then oh man, I haven't even gotten to my comments. I'm just like explaining what happens. So basically, I don't think I'm gonna explain every single thing in between, but I'm trying to set up kind of like, so I can leave some to the imagination. I don't want to give like word for word, but basically, you can tell that the younger brother is like overly obsessed with sexual things, and then you can tell that the younger brother, what am I saying? Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I'm seeing some pedestrians, and it looks like, no, I think everything is okay. It looked like someone was on the ground being like kicked, but I don't think that's what was happening. They're just playing around. I was just making sure, and I misspoke. I said I didn't mean to say that it was the older brother. So basically, the younger brother and her, the main character, are kind of going back and forth, and she's like, you know, saying how she could be a guy or whatever. Like she should just pretend to be a guy and like try to get her article published. And then she basically puts on some of her brother's clothes, goes outside, pretends to be like pizza delivery, or pretends to just like knock on the door or whatever. And the brother gets fooled. She realizes the brother doesn't realize that she's just dressed up in his clothes. And at that point, she still had long hair. She put on a there's like a cap that had a, I don't know, like a sun shield cloth kind of on the back of it, and then she was wearing like shades and just like his clothes, so you couldn't really see like what you fully looked like. And with that outfit, she kind of resembled a boy. And you know, meanwhile, you know, she has this college age boyfriend who is always trying to like get with her, have sex with her, trying to hook up with her, and seems like completely like insensitive to like anything, you know, in her life, insensitive about the article not performing well and things like that, and he just didn't really seem to care about too much. And so she's upset with him, on the verge of kind of just like wanting to be done with him because of that scenario. And then he's so yeah, she's upset with him, and then he's basically like not that great of a guy, but I guess because he's in college, it's kind of like, well, okay, you got like a boyfriend who's in college, which is also another weird thing, because if she's not a senior, even if she is a senior, I think seniors usually graduate at like 17. So that, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm like newly thinking of these things because I just watched it and I was like, oh, that was interesting and kind of cringy. And then I just left it alone for like a day or so. And so now I'm getting back to thinking about what was actually going down. And it's like, dude, this is kind of a creepy, kind of a creepy movie. But, so yeah, he's dating a high school student. I don't know, how old she is. But anyways, I mean, it doesn't show them like doing anything. And then basically you kind of just get the idea she's mad at him, and then there's all these kind of side stories of like the main bullies at school and stuff, but she decides to cut her hair and go and start going to a different school. I mean, her parents are out of town. She enrolls in a different school like down the street or whatever, and then starts going to another school. The bully guy ends up tossing him into some rose bushes or something. But from the second this girl character puts on the boy clothes, oh yeah, her brother's trying to like teach her how to act and stuff, trying to be like, oh, walk like this and like adjust your crotch like this, and like she puts in like a pair of socks or something in her pants, and it's just I don't know, man, like it's just like I don't know what to think about this, but basically she's trying to act like a guy, and so you kind of see her change, like her demeanor, her attitude. I mean, she was already pretty, like, I'd say, like, a go-getter, ambitious in school, maybe made good grades. That's the impression I get, that she was doing well, intelligent, and her, she has a boyfriend, and she's not, like, super popular, but I think she had, like, a good reputation at least. And so she was already doing well as a female, just, she kind of felt like her work was getting overlooked, or people only considered her for her looks and weren't like trying to like encourage her. So after she learns from her brother, she goes to the school, the new school, gets thrown in the bushes by the bully guy, meets a guy who's just kind of sitting on the other side of the bushes. He introduces himself, and she's trying to act like tough and like like macho, like, and basically goes through the whole movie. I'm not gonna give all the details, but her and this guy who saw her after the bushes, they kind of become close friends, and she goes by Terry, and this guy doesn't know that she's a girl, and she's trying to navigate things like gym class, bathroom, things like this, and try not to get caught and stuff in situations where she might have to take off her clothes to some extent, but then also trying to like be a good friend to her new buddy at this school, and dealing with bully jock type guys, and dealing with a girl having a crush on her, and so there's a lot of things that actually were happening. Like at one point, they're kind of on a double date. She's trying to get her new friend a date because he's like a nice guy, good looking guy, doesn't really make waves, really into music, that kind of stuff. Doesn't know if he's gonna go to college, just wants to study music somehow, or like get into the music industry or work with music. And so they kind of bond over that a little bit, and she starts catching feelings for this guy, But she doesn't really like say anything because she can't, and so it becomes really odd. Um, but she's just acting like just weird. She's acting weird. Um, because the whole time she's like a girl acting like a guy, but she's like overcompensating. I feel like I've never met a guy that acts like that, like trying to pretend they're macho and like trying to like overcompensate. Um, I mean, I do know people that overcompensate, but I mean like so much. Um, it almost reminds me of the movie She's the Man, where Ash and Amanda Bynes is talking to Channing Tatum, but she's supposed to seem like she's like a guy. And in that movie, she's like, "Oh, which one do you like more?" Like when Channing Tatum's talking about like girls, and like one girl, like I guess he likes a couple girls, but can't really decide which one he likes or something. And I might review that movie next, but yeah, and then she says like, "Oh, which one do you like more? I mean, which one would you rather see naked?" And then he's just like, "Why do you always have to say stuff like that?" And like, just kind of like, okay, like that's kind of like inappropriate. Like, why do you have to talk about girls like that kind of thing? And that was an interesting movie because in that movie, um, Channing Tatum being the guy who's not pretending to be a guy. Channing Tatum being the guy is he's actually he seems to be more sensitive and aware than Amanda Bynes as the characters in this movie. I don't know them as humans. I don't know like their real personalities, but I'm just saying the character she was playing was super insensitive and like so it kind of goes to show, I think, how not really how guys are viewed, but that there's maybe some kind of a difference. Fast forward, like she ends up going to the prom with I don't remember who, but basically the bully guy's girlfriend is kind of like breaking up with him, and ends up going with the new bestie that Terry makes at the new school while she's pretending to be a guy. And so there's some beef there. And then Terry's boyfriend, her college boyfriend, comes to this prom. And this was kind of a funny scene in a weird way. How the boyfriend was like, "You're my boyfriend," and like, "Who are you?" Like to the other guy, and like, like all that kind of stuff. So it's already like everyone's watching because he's yelling at her, but she looks like a guy. So basically, it looks like she has a college boyfriend, or it looks like Terry, has a college boyfriend, and he's gay. So he's trying to explain to his bestie kind of more privately after they all kind of get beaten up, like how, the bestie's like, "Oh, like don't worry, I know you're gay. It's not." He didn't seem to have an issue with it, and then she's like, "No, I'm a girl," and then she kind of like opens her shirt and shows, her chest, and he's just like, "What?" He gets like pissed off because I mean. I don't know. I think because, she was lying the whole time. And he probably was sharing a lot of personal details about... Well, there was a point where he was sharing, like, some personal details about his sex life. And, like... But it was... He just seemed like a nice, sensitive friend. And, she was doing this... she ends up writing an article about it. And there was another situation where the girl that likes Terry is trying to a couple scenes where she's trying to like get in Terry's pants, basically, like literally at the beach one day. She kind of like reaches down and like finds like these socks that Terry put in his pants, and then another scene, you know, she takes advantage of, you know, she comes over to the house just like at random by her unannounced to bring some fish as a gift, like some goldfish or something in a fish bowl as a gift. And then Terry's actual college boyfriend shows up, and so Terry's trying to like get away from the girl, and like the girl's kind of just like, she takes her top off and like is waiting in the room for Terry to come back. But Terry actually has like a really girly looking bedroom, and lied and said that her brother's room with all those pinups of those naked women everywhere was actually her room. I mean, it's just so weird. Okay, so and then basically, yeah, so I pretty much described the whole movie by this point. So I want to go back to some of the stuff that's really strange, because I started thinking about this movie again when I was watching Muna's new podcast episode. I was kind of like, I couldn't find it this morning. Like, I saw it, but because I had to make that sale at like 8, like right around 8:15, and their podcast starts at like 8 in the morning, and I was like, oh shoot, oh no. And so I looked on a couple other apps, and I was like, okay, I can hear the audio on like Spotify. So I started listening, and I was maybe like 15 to 30 minutes in or so, and then it said after 10 o'clock that it was gonna post it at like 10 o'clock. Cause I started Googling it, and I'm like, dude, like, where's the episode? Because they showed the teaser of it, and I guess it was still in private mode. And then basically I went back and was able to watch, like, they posted it on YouTube probably like around maybe 10:15, somewhere around there in the morning. And so I was eventually able to watch it and everything. And while I was watching that episode today, you know, just seeing the multiple gender presentations between, and I don't really know all of the pronouns of people in the band Muna, but you know, I started seeing all of their what do you call it? I started seeing like all of their, just kind of the ways they are, you know. And they had Toa on there, and Toa was the one getting the interview, and so I'm just like looking at the four of them all sitting there, and I'm like, you know, there's someone who's more femme. Katie, the lead singer, is kind of more femme, but as I take it, the way that I hear them talking, it sounds like in a lot of ways she's kind of more dom, bedroom wise, but it sounds like in person, you know, she's like, she presents more femme at times, but a lot of times she's wearing like oversized, I don't know what kind of jeans, they're almost like Junko shorts, like really oversized shorts, loose baggy shirts, but sometimes she'll have like blouses and things. Sometimes on stage she's wearing like bikini type stuff, and you know, maybe just like a bikini top, or like revealing more than she does in the podcast. Like, I've never seen her in the podcast like not, you know, fully wearing clothing, but I guess her outfits are more like femme style. And you know, they did kind of make some comments in the episode, in the Muna podcast episode, about, you know, how artists are maybe portrayed when they're not really being, you know, considered for the male gaze. It was just kind of an interesting, it's such an interesting concept, because I think about things like, okay, like, there are women that a lot of guys like. Let's talk artists or something. Um, and they might think, oh, she's pretty or she's attractive or she's hot or whatever. But I don't know if they do they go to like I don't know if I've really seen a lot of guys that aren't gay guys really like fangirling over like or fanboying I guess it's called like over pop stars. Um, like they might think they're hot and stuff, but I don't really know that many guys who are like, oh yeah, I want to go to her concert because she's hot. Like I know women do that about boy bands and stuff, and they'll see the attractiveness of female artists. Um, but I don't really know if guys. I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe guys do that. They just don't really say it that much. Because I know who a lot of my guy friends like as far as artists, and I think they tend to see the artists that they like to see. I just don't know if they really talk about like, oh yeah, she's hot, and I'm gonna go like see her. Like I've never really heard a guy say that, But like I'll totally be like fangirling over like all of the artists that I like, and I'll talk about it. I guess like guys maybe just don't talk about artists like that, but I think they'll just still go see them. But anyways, I don't know. When I was looking at the band members and like like seeing, okay, Katie's kind of like she of the three, often has like a more femme style more than Josette. Josette's kind of more. Josette and Naomi kind of keep more on that androgynous scale. I don't know if it's rude to say this, just from my own perspective, personally. I think that Josette presents maybe a little more femme, more mask than Katie, more femme than Naomi. Naomi, in my personal opinion, again, not to be offensive, I don't know these people. I'm just saying how they present, in my opinion. It's kind of right down the middle. Naomi seems kind of right down the middle. And Toa also seemed kind of right down the middle. I don't know Toa's... Let me look it up. Let me Google this. I don't know Toa's pronouns. And let me take a note that... Okay. I'm taking notes for myself. So 9 minutes. This is when I actually started. Started talking. About the episode, and then from minute 9 to 37 it was the review, and then 37 on is kind of my opinions about things. So yeah, like, okay, Toa 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 Bird, gender identity. If you haven't seen Toa Bird, go check out Toa Bird. So just the first thing that shows up, it says, on her debut album, American Hero, the 25-year-old queer musician celebrates identity, joins the lesbian renaissance, and becomes the representation she never had. That's from June 27, 2024. I don't know why the album's called American Hero. I don't think she's American. I think she's British or something. But also, I think she's like part Filipina, part Chinese? I could be wrong about that. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. um, um, these questions, sorry, I'm so distracted. One of the questions says, is Toa a boy or a girl? Is the Toa bird a man or a woman? Why does Toa dress like a boy? Who does she have a crush on? Is Toa a boy? Toa claims Riku is someone she likes. I would say queer, lesbian. I don't really know. Toa's aware of the more firmly established gender divisions in modern Japan, and the pressure to look and act more feminine occasionally irritates her. So she from Japan? I think we're talking about two different people. Because this is Toa Higurashi Inuyasha fandom. How did I get to Inuyasha? No, I'm not talking about Inuyasha. I'm talking about Toa Bird. I don't even know if we're talking about the same person here. Because I think actually we're talking about Inuyasha. Like the anime. What? Okay, so this isn't helping me. Sorry, some of the stuff I read was about the Inuyasha character. I apologize. So anyways, I'll just say she because they say she on here, and I would hope that people correct it if they need to do that. Oh my gosh, why are there so many people out right now? So yeah. So, I'm looking at these guys, in the podcast, and then like my mind jumps back to that I watched this movie the other day. I'm like, there's something about queer and lesbian people, not all of them, some of them, that can be masculine without that macho attitude. And is like a macho attitude kind of not a good thing? Like I don't know, because they say toxic masculinity and all that kind of stuff. I know what toxic masculinity is. I just try not to throw the term around, because I like the way guys are. A lot of I don't know. I have a different experience with men than a lot of people might, because I've never really looked like the typical female who would even consider like a male gaze. Like, I could not care less about that. I care more about my own comfort. I've never really tried to be like attracting men. I've known of a couple guys here and there that had interests, but I've never really chosen what I was gonna do based on like, oh, I hope guys like this. And so that has never been something important to me. But I also think sorry, I'm gonna be coughing. Sorry to be coughing in the mic. I mean, females can have toxic masculinity too. I mean, I see it sometimes with some studs. I've seen it sometimes with even femme presenting people. I've seen it. I've seen that kind of like, and that's why I don't really want to fully call it toxic masculinity. It's more of like an aggression and just toxic attitude in general. Just kind of that, like, it's kind of like egotistical, just kind of like puff up your chest kind of thing. Um, I mean, one opinion I've had. I was gonna talk to one of my friends about this, but I was, you know, because I haven't really seen him, but we kind of have these kind of conversations a lot. And I was, when I was over at the last rave, that festival I went to, the EDM festival, Hard Summer. When I was over there, I told him, because we're standing at the porta potties, but not in the same exact line. I'm standing like behind this one guy in a corner, and then my friend goes like down the row, and I tell him, I got sirred, because that's what I call it when somebody calls me sir. Like this one guy I was in line behind, and I think one of the, like, a female goes in there before us and is like, oh, there's no toilet paper or whatever, and then one of the guys is like, just don't use toilet paper, and then one of her other friends was like just use the piece on the floor or whatever, and I just looked, I'm just looking at the guy that's right in front of me, and we just kind of look at each other and we're like, like, I'd rather just not use anything, kind of. And then he makes a comment, he's like, well, good thing we're not girls. And I was just like, I am. I actually am a girl. And then he was like, oh, sorry, kind of thing. And I was like, it's fine. Because I'm like, yeah, I know what I look like. But it was just kind of a funny comment, because it was just like the way it just played out, how he was just like, at least we're not, girls. I'm like, well, I am. And that. But I was like, I was like, I am a girl, but I brought my own toilet paper, And he was like, he was just like, so he kind of had a laugh at it. I wasn't trying, I don't know. I don't like saying that kind of thing to people, like, because, I mean, I don't really want to be, like, mean to people or have people feel bad because they chose the wrong gender to identify me as, when it really doesn't matter when I'm in a line for a porta potty. It's like, I've never had anybody, like, lately, like, trying to, like, overstep with it. I've had waiters call me sir. They still serve me and provide a good service. I've had cashiers call me sir. They've still, like, been kind and polite, I've never had, like, lately anybody who said sir be, like, offensive after the fact. And also, I think once I start talking, people kind of, like, I don't sound like a grown man. Like, my voice isn't, like, super high pitched, but it's not that deep. And I think kind of maybe, like, my mannerisms, inflections, different things are not very masculine. But I do not really like being perceived as a black male. I'll straight up say that. It's not pleasant when people kind of jump, or they avoid eye contact, or they get, like, super nervous around you. And it's just not a pleasant setting for me. But, that's their problem, not mine. Like, I'm not doing anything. But, I don't know. I think, I live in LA, and it's mostly just, my hair's not that long. And even though so I do have length to my hair, but I keep it natural most of the time. And so my natural hair is actually really, my natural hair is, like, it's really, I have, like, kinky curly hair. So it's very, like, unless you stretch it out, there's not, like, a lot of length to it. And so under a hat, it doesn't look like I have long hair at all. It looks like I just have, like, a little afro. And I don't really have as long of bangs as I used to, so they're not sticking out from under the hat. So, and people can't really see my face, and they can't hear my voice, and I know how I'm dressed, I mean, I don't know, like, I wouldn't say that I'm super flat-chested, but I think I'm probably flat-chested enough for people to not really notice because it's like I wear kind of fitted shirts a little bit, and I'm like I like they're not tight shirts, but they're fairly fitted most of the time, and I'm like, do you not see? But I usually have like a sports bra on, and that kind of puts things kind of a little flatter. I don't do that on purpose. It's just I have a sports bra that I like, like I have some that I enjoy wearing, and I don't like the feel of those weird little claspy things when bras get old, like the clasp at the back. I don't really like the feel of them when they start to wear out. And I don't like that the strap in the back kind of wears out. It wears thin, and I don't like that it kind of has like a shape to it. Like if you're wearing like a thinner shirt or something more fitted, you can kind of see the outline of it. But I don't know. I just haven't had a really comfortable bra in a long time. I like Victoria's Secret stuff, but I kind of don't really like going in there. It makes me feel weird. Because it's always like, oh man, that store makes me so uncomfortable. Because it's like, okay, like we're gonna have all these like hot people come talk to you, and they think you're a guy, and then they realize that you're not a guy, and then it's just like, what is going on? Like, you know, that store kind of results in a lot more nerves than I would prefer. Um, the Victoria's Secret catalogs and magazines. I used to look at those with my sister and a friend. And I used to send them to my guy friends. I don't know. They were never really like fully my type. Like they're attractive, but I don't know. I don't know. Like it. I don't know what I think about it. Um, but I got way off topic. But yeah, like I don't really know a lot of like other than the people who are in the toxic aggression, toxic masculinity type categories. I don't really know that many queer people that are masculine that would act the way that Terry was acting in this movie, pretending to be a boy. Because, first of all, I don't think it's the same idea. Like, I'm not pretending to be a boy or a man. Now, okay, so that is a total different thing. If I got in a situation where I needed to pretend to be a guy, I could probably try to do that. I don't want to, but say if it was like there's only a restroom and they're only letting men go in it, and there's no way that I'm gonna be able to like drive to the nearest place that's gonna let me use, like maybe it's like an emergency and it's like I need to use a bathroom. I could probably get away with walking into a guy's bathroom stall. If I put my hat down low and kind of like, I'd have to like pretend the mannerisms some. And if someone spoke to me, kind of like lower my voice. I probably have to be less giggly, less like, less how I am. Like, there's no way I would be able to be exactly like this personality wise. Like, I feel like when people do mistake me as a guy, they're kind of like, they haven't spoken to me yet, and then they speak to me, and then like once you're kind of like engaged in the conversation, you're like, this isn't a dude, like, you know. But I unless I had to, because I do think it would be different. I don't naturally act like that. I don't naturally act in like in a very masculine way. I think I'm maybe more masculine than a lot of femmes I know, obviously, because they're femmes, but I do have a lot of female friends that probably have some masculine quality, like more masculine qualities than I do. Like I have some female friends that are like, they look femme, but they're super into sports. Like they play sports all the time, they watch sports all the time. You know, I don't really watch a lot of sports. I like sports though. I enjoy sports. I have a good time with sports. I'm not like against sports. I just don't generally spend a lot of my free time watching sports, which I might start doing because I enjoy a good game. But it just feels like, do I really want to take 2 to 3 hours out of my night every so often just to watch sports. I mean, I usually don't want to spend that much time watching sports. Um, but I might watch some sports this weekend. I don't really like following a lot of stuff. That to me is like too much time and energy, but I don't know. I gotta roll the windows down a little bit more. It's getting a little hot in here. For some reason with the windows rolled up a little higher. So yeah, I don't really think it's the same thing, because I don't think queer women or non-binary people are necessarily trying to be men or trying to imitate men. I feel like most of us are just trying to be ourselves. But just kind of this type of movie is kind of just strange, because it's like I can never imagine acting like either Terry or Terry's younger brother in this movie, and trying to think that, a lot of women would really want that. Like, it just doesn't. Like, I can't imagine like having someone over and being like, hey, come like check out my room, and there's like pictures of naked women all over the walls. I mean, I'm not trying to shame people who might do that, but it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I think a lot of women might not like that, and I don't know, like, I'm a softer, gentler person. I don't think I would be very interested in all the, like, macho-esque-ness. Now, but there is, like, a sense of, like, you can still be, or still feel, like, emasculinated, like, or something along those lines. Like, I think there's way back, I had this crush on kind of like a pretty boy kind of guy, like, at church. This was so long ago, and I've forgotten all about this guy, but he had like a glow up, man. He went on this mission trip, and he came back, and he did this presentation in front of the church, and I already thought he was like good looking. He had like this long hair, and he was like sensitive, kind of intelligent guy. He was becoming a pastor, so I was kind of like, I'm not really interested, but he's nice. I like it when he preaches. It's kind of nice to look at. I kind of like that. And then I didn't think I had like I was not trying to like date him or anything, but he was really good with Hebrew and things, and I really like languages, and I was kind of like, I thought he looked nice. I was into his mind, and I liked the way he looked, but I never really thought too much past that. But I would say that I did like it. It was a form of a crush, but I don't know if it was like, I don't know if it was fully sexual of a crush. It's like, I liked him. I liked to talk to him. I wanted to be around him and talk to him and spend time with him and get to know him. But I didn't want to necessarily date him. But it was like kind of a crush-ish. I thought he was cute. And he goes on this mission trip and comes back. And he's giving the sermon. Like, he went somewhere in like the Philippines or something. Like, he was visiting like a tribal group, and they showed him and gave him some tribal wear, and it was like this type of a loincloth. He had his shirt on. He was preaching with a shirt on and a loincloth. And, he's probably like, I don't know, like, I'm probably like 20. He's probably like 24 or 25 or so. Good looking pastor dude. And, I would see him at like Sabbath school. I remember trying to impress him once, because we had this, I hate talking crap about people, but we had this kind of jerk collegiate pastor he was just not nice to people at all. Very sarcastic and rude and mean and insensitive. Um, and I always thought he could kind of put people in their place without really knowing like the full story. He just didn't really consider how he like spoke to people. But we put up with him because he was kind of like the one in charge of stuff, and he had a place where we can hang out, and he'd plan things. So like we'd show up. But he kind of just started inviting like a bunch of local community people to like hang out at coffee shops with us, and I think he was just trying to meet women. And he tried to go through a lot of the women at the church, but he was saying like, oh, like usually in the UK, like we date like younger age people, and I'm just like, oh, you can't do that here, because he was kind of interested in like the younger crowd, but he was like 30. I never saw him doing anything illegal, um, but I do know he was into like at least like people in like age 18, 19, 20. I don't want to speak to saying if he was into younger age because I don't know that for sure. um I could be like remembering certain conversations, so I don't even want to say that he said that if I don't know for sure. But I know he liked people much younger than he was, and we were all kind of grossed out about it. um and some people warned and said, hey, not this guy. Like, no, I'm not talking about the same guy that I had like this thing for, but I remember, at this one like Sabbath school lesson, we used to have the lessons at like a local family's house, and then we would eat breakfast there. Like, the church would provide like the funds for like, donuts, coffee, juice, fruits, that kind of thing. So we get there, have breakfast, because people were saying they were late because of breakfast, but they wanted to try these like small home, gatherings, which I liked because it was intimate. It was really fun. And so we would go there, and then we carpool to the church that was like probably 2 miles max away. And so, you know, we were at this house, and the pastor that I didn't like was kind of like saying some stuff in Hebrew or whatever, and I remember just like translating it. He said something like "the king is great" or something like that, or like something like that, and he looks at me and he kind of just like, "How do you know that?" And I was like, "I study Hebrew, like, you know." And the other guy that I kind of like, the pastor that I kind of like thought was cute, he was there, and I was like, because I was like I have no idea how to talk to this guy, so I started like trying to talk to him then, because I was like, okay, well, now you know that I know Hebrew, and so and I was like, oh, like, what kind of Bibles would you recommend? And like, dude, this is this is this this was my version of flirting. It's I don't even care. I don't even care how it looks. I'm not ashamed of it. I am, but I'm not, because it's totally me. I was just like, because I recognized he had like a really cool Bible, and it was all Hebrew, but it didn't have English. And I was like interested, because I was like, I wonder what kind of Bible he has, because he'd always carry like a couple extra like reference books and stuff, and I was totally into that kind of stuff. And so I'd kind of pick his brain about it. Fast forward to this church picnic thing. We had like a church picnic once every year, and we're there with a bunch of people. I think at a certain point, some of the people get up to go play softball because they had kind of reserved the diamond to play. And then, I'm with some friends. We have like water balloons. I think we're throwing water balloons at each other. And then another collegiate pastor, one that I liked, not like a crush, but he was like an older guy with a wife and kids, and like, not older, but he was older. He was young enough to hang and have us over, but old enough that like he had a wife with kids. So it's like he was younger, he was older than us, but young enough to kind of still like be relatable. And like he'd have us over, we'd have pizza and watch movies like almost every Saturday night, and like we'd watch one or two movies, and he'd order like way too much pizza, and it was like almost every weekend. And like, so generous, so kind. We love this guy. He was such a nice person, and his wife was too, and everything. And we would just come over, and you know, I remember him telling two of my guy friends, while this pastor crush guy was there at the picnic, I don't know what the pastor guy was doing. He was like eating, or I don't know if he was talking to anybody. He might have been talking to the other pastor, and then that pastor was trying to get them to like get me because I wasn't paying attention. Maybe we were eating watermelons or something. I don't remember. I feel like we were doing something where we were kind of all standing around, but I was just completely not paying attention. And they, I think they're filling up water balloons or something, and then they get me. They take me over, like they carry me. Like one person has my arms, one person has my legs, and they just like carry me over to like this youth pastor guy who has like the hose or something, and they're just like spraying me with the hose or whatever. And I was like, okay, that's fucking embarrassing, because I'm like, okay, there's like this person that I'm like, even if I wasn't like doing a good job at like trying to impress this person, I still kind of was, trying to some extent. And so there's situations like that where I'm all that to say, I would say those types of settings could be considered something to the tune of like emasculating or just embarrassing in general. Just the kind of thing that I would think, okay, if I was like on a date, I wouldn't want something like that happening. And it's like, I'm like a girl. I don't fight people, and these guys are like bigger than me. There's no way I could have like gotten out of that. And I'm just like, thanks guys, like you guys suck. But I didn't hold a grudge. And then one of my friends later, he was like, I actually feel really bad about that. And I was like, yeah, you should. But he was, I appreciated him saying that. But still, I was just like, dude, what is going on? But I'd almost forgotten all about that pastor guy that I kind of had this weird crush on. But I don't know, like there have been a lot of times there have been a lot of times where it's like, I'm hanging out with like female friends, and guys try and like step in, and I'm like, I can just tell them like, these girls don't want you talking to them, and like, I try to be nice to my friends. I'm quite a sensitive person. I don't know if I always come across that way, because it could kind of put me on the defensive too, because people kind of can try to get under your skin, when they figure out that you're kind of like mild mannered. Sometimes they try to like piss you off a little bit, or just like be insensitive and rude because they're uncomfortable with it. And I don't really like that, but I mean, because I can be rude back, but I try not to be. But I don't know, like it's just weird, like watching that movie, I can't imagine trying to like have like a lady friend over and be like, oh, but there's all these naked women pictures everywhere. Unless they were into that, then maybe I'd be like, hey, look at these magazines I got if you want to check them out, But if I didn't know that she was into that, I don't think I would want that happening. But I also don't think most guys would do that. I don't think that's very realistic. Maybe if you're in high school, and maybe as like a joke or kind of like a comedic kind of like sense of humor kind of thing. But I think if a guy is seriously trying to impress a female friend of theirs, I don't think that would be what they would do. I've never seen any guy do anything like that. And so going back to like, okay, so this might be, I don't know how to bring this topic up, but going back to kind of that topic of toxic masculinity, kind of like thinking about that brother who's like this overly sexual um, guy, um, the younger brother in the movie, um, thinking about how he was reacting, and just, I think about, those types of scenarios, and I think, okay, so for me it's always been a little bit of like a mixed bag of things, because I have a lot of guy friends, or at least when I was growing up, most of my friends were guys. And so it wasn't uncommon to be around guys talking about girls. But a lot of times they kind of leave me out of the conversation and they go talk about girls. But they didn't really care. I don't think they really cared that much. Um, and I remember once, oh yeah, I'm not gonna tell that story. But basically, I remember there being, roll the windows. The street just got like eerily quiet. So now I know there's no traffic at this time. But yeah, there was a well, if I can't tell that story, I don't know. I didn't really have what I was actually gonna say. So more from the movie. Like, I don't know. There were just so many things that happened that I'm like, because I know, okay, I don't want to compare this to like queer relationships or queer dating, because it's not the same thing. But it's like, it's just kind of a funny scenario, because it's like, you know, as a woman who does date women, I would never treat women like these guys treat women on this comedy, 80s comedy movie. So it's like, and I know it's overly, it's like overkill. It's overdone. Like, it's not I know so many guys that do not act like this. Like, I don't think I know any guys that act like this. And if they do, it's for show, for fun. It's in a kind of fun, loving way, and they're not consistently like just complete horn dogs all the time. Not I don't know. They are, but not like this. Like, it's not like, you know, posters hanging from the side of a chair, of like naked women and stuff, or just like the way that they say things. Um, but there was that kind of lack of sensitivity. I definitely noticed that these guys in this, there weren't a lot of sensitive ones, but the one that became the bestie of Terry, of the main girl character that was pretending to be a guy, he was kind of a sensitive guy. So he was sensitive, but he wasn't like not masculine. Like, there wasn't anything about him that wasn't masculine. And they didn't make him to be like a super nerdy guy. He wasn't super popular, but he seemed to like know people, and not like, he didn't really butt heads with many people until, you know, he started getting under the skin of the main like jock bully guy, the Karate Kid one, the Karate Kid bully. um. So yeah, it's just kind of crazy to me. I'm like, okay. Um, it's based on complete stereotypes of, a girl pretending to be a boy, and completely stereotyping high school boys. Um, but I've been around guys enough to know that a lot of times, guys don't always talk around each other the same way that they talk around women that they like, or women that they're dating, or women who are friends. They do kind of contain those conversations that are kind of like maybe sexual in nature or whatever. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, but a lot of lesbian people, sit around and have really sexual conversations too. And then being a non-straight person, I found, not recently, but in my past, well, kind of recently too, when I'm around straight people, not all of them, but some of them can be very intrusive about sexual questions in ways that I'm like, I do not know why anybody wants to know this about me specifically. Like, like why, friend, are you asking this? It's kind of like, but there is this kind of like interesting curiosity that's kind of like, first of all, I'm always like, well, why don't you Google it? Like, if it's not like a direct personal question, like if people ask me like, what's my type? That is something that's like, okay, you can't Google specifically what my type is. Well, maybe you can, because I probably put it on this podcast. But I mean, that would be something that is a question that's like, okay, I can answer that. But then, people do ask overly personal questions sometimes. I don't mind though if people kind of like know that it's a personal question and there's kind of like, you don't really have to answer. But I don't know, there's just something sometimes where it's kind of like, why do you want to know about this? But then I don't know, I have certain friends where it's like, it's a refreshing conversation. It might just depend on my mood sometimes. I'm just like, I'm really not trying to talk about this, but I've noticed, like I have some friends that can't really have a vulnerable conversation. Like they can have sexually vulnerable conversations, but can't have any other kind of conversation. And it's kind of, to me, that's weird. But it's like, if I feel like having that kind of conversation, I don't really mind it. But if I don't, and I'm just like, hey, I want to tell you about my day, and then you're just like, oh, like, who's the last girl you kissed kind of thing, like, what the hell are we even talking about? Like, 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 I'm not even, like, talking about that, and they just kind of, like, start bringing up, like, weird stuff that's, like, of that nature, but it's not, I don't know, like, I'm not, like, fully offended, because I think the types of people that I know now, and the people that I know, I haven't met a whole lot of new people on a level where there have been a lot of people asking me a lot of questions. And I don't mind people asking, just, okay, if this is the topic of conversation and we're talking about dating or we're talking about whatever, I don't mind people just like asking me questions that might be personal. But I also don't share the same information with every single person. I'm not saying I go around like lying to every single person, but like there's certain friends that I would say I talk to about stuff more often than others. I don't know how far is too far sometimes though with people, because I'm like, I try not to be like sending people things that I'm like, is this inappropriate? Like the other day, in WeHo, they had go-go dancers, and I'm just like taking footage of like, with the music in the background and all that. Occasional clip of like a dancer here or there, not a lot. I don't think I even took 9. I think total I might have taken 9 pictures that whole weekend. Maybe. Maybe it was 6. I don't remember. It wasn't that many pictures. Or little video clips. But maybe, let's say I took 9. And not all of them were of go-go dancers. And so I just had a few. And there was a friend that I was like, that told me, send me pictures. There was another friend that I was kind of like, let me know if you want pictures. Because I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to just be like sending people like, half naked people dancing. And then there's another friend that I was like, I didn't send you pictures yet, but I'll send them later kind of thing. So I'll probably send him the pictures tonight. But I don't know. I kind of enjoyed um you know, like I liked watching the movie, but it was kind of cringe. But it also wasn't necessarily like a depiction of like queer couples. I kind of thought it would be more gay. I'd seen it before, but I didn't really remember it. And I thought it would be more gay. I thought there'd be more like overtones of like oh, like you know, like with these gender role type things, and then like you know, um, just more gay, like more like Terry kind of hitting on the bestie, and kind of like now it seems like two gay dudes kind of thing, or two guys, you know. But it wasn't like that. It was basically like it just appeared to be like two guys the whole time. The one with the man, the Binds, and Channing Tatum, she's the man. There were some scenes where I think she's like into him or whatever, and then there were some scenes where um I think you could kind of like she kind of made some comments where it's like kind of maybe giving away like something's up, you know. But I don't know. I just think it's an interesting scenario of shows or movies to put out there. I'm not saying people should be like lying about things, but it's just an interesting concept because you know a lot of us already get misgendered as it is, and then to have something where it's like somebody wants to be misgendered, um, but they're not trans or anything. I'm not saying trans people want to be misgendered. I'm just saying, you know, the reason why Terry wanted to be a boy was because she wanted specifically for her career opportunities. That was specifically the reason, was career opportunities. And I really liked I don't know, I feel like it was pretty well done. It was interesting, it was fun, it was funny. There were definitely some scenes where I'm like, there were definitely some cringe parts. Um, but yeah, I don't really think, um, I don't really think those guys did a very good job at trying to impress these women. Um, I'm not saying that I'm like the most skilled at trying to impress people. I'm just saying like they were completely like not, um, not doing that. But I don't know, if you guys watch it, you gotta tell me what you think. Right now it's free on YouTube, so I hope it stays that way so people can watch it for a long time. It's getting harder and harder to find free streaming, kind of like the bootleg streaming stuff. Um, I used to use fmovies, fmovies.to. I haven't I haven't been able to get on there in a while. Um, I think that site might be officially down. Usually they put it back up again, but I haven't seen it in a while, and I've searched about it, and people are like, can't find it. So I don't know if it's coming back up again, or if it's changed the name so far from what it is that, you know, it's going to take some time to find it. Um, but I don't know. It wasn't really an LGBT movie. It was somewhat of a gender bending kind of movie, I guess. Um, all she really did was like change her voice, change her hair, change her clothes, just the presentation altogether. But then she kind of changed her personality too. Um, she wasn't really masculine, but she definitely wasn't acting feminine. Um, I think I would have liked to see more feminine, while she was posing to be this boy Terry. I think I would have found that more interesting, but they didn't really go there. They just made her completely try to act like an overcompensating high school boy. Um, but I don't know. Like, there were some scenes where it's kind of like, I do kind of. I mean, there's no like comparing, like, oh, which genders are like difficult, or, which sexuality is more difficult. Not really comparing like that, but um, as far as like gender or sexuality, there were yeah, it was mostly the gender stuff. Uh, in the presentation, she didn't really want to be a boy, I don't think. Um, she just wanted her career and her future, you know, academic endeavors to go well. Um, she wanted to get recognized for her work, and she got a story out of her whole experience. Um, which she kind of did ruffle some feathers and lie to a lot of people in the process, which I would say is maybe not the best way to go about getting a story, by being deceitful. Um, but it was it was interesting. It was an interesting story, guys. I found it to be pretty interesting. If you can stomach it, watch it. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was fun. I could see why some people wouldn't laugh at it and wouldn't like it and would be offended. Um, but I was kind of just interested in that kind of storyline. Glad I rewatched it because I didn't really remember it too well. But I think that's mostly what I'd have to say about, what I kind of recognized about these, these, you know, um, these people. And gender stuff is very interesting, because people do treat you different when they think you're a different gender. Like, it's kind of interesting, like, when you walk around the place and people think you're a guy, and like guys just bump into each other. It's such a weird thing. I'm like, why are they bumping into everybody? Um, I don't know if things are really like that at like gay clubs as much. I feel like people are more polite and respectful. But I definitely notice it at music festivals. Like, that's probably the place where I'm usually around the most non queer men, like the most amount of non queer men that I do not know or am not trying to get to know necessarily. I'm not saying I don't want to get to know straight guys. I just don't I don't get out that much either, but when I do, I like it to be concerts or queer spaces. Um or just hanging out with family and friends that are neither, uh, that aren't into music or don't go to queer spaces, or maybe are or aren't queer but don't go to queer spaces. I don't mind just like hanging out with people outside of those spaces, but those are two things I really like to do: concerts and go to like gay bars and stuff. And I usually enjoy it. Um, yeah, I find it to be pretty fun, pretty enjoyable. But um, I don't know. I mean, I've met some insensitive females as well. Like, it's not just, I've met guys that are super sensitive guys. One of the most sensitive people I know is a guy, actually. Um, and yeah, it's just interesting. I don't think it was a good representation of guys and like women trying to play a role as a guy. But for 1985, I'll give it that, because 1985 and those comedies in 1985 were very like hit the stereotype. We need to hit the stereotype when we're talking about nerd culture. we need to hit the stereotype. These nerds need to be nerds. You know what I mean? Like, if you've seen that movie with Val Kilmer, like Real Genius, I used to love that movie too. Um, those kind of movies, you know. The nerds are definitely the nerds. Or like War Games. That's like one of my all time favorite movies. Not the newer one, but the one in the 80s, the original War Games. Um, the main guy who's into the video games and computers and everything, he's not a nerd in that. He's knowledgeable, and he kind of like attracts the attention of like a female, you know, classmate, and he's kind of like going around doing like bad things, and you know, invites her over and has maybe a couple little like underwear pieces around and has to clean up his room a little bit. Um, but I think it's pretty innocent. It seemed like a pretty innocent movie, I guess. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I really. I don't know. Like, I liked it because it was different, and I like movies that are kind of like that. But sometimes, I don't know. In a way, it's kind of like a sensitive topic, which I don't know why. I think it's kind of weird because like I was able to watch that kind of stuff easily before and not really be too phased by it. And there's something about, you know, nowadays where it's more like, you know, like it's not really laughing at like queer culture. Um, it's more like gender related. But I don't know. Like um, I think it is kind of offensive against guys. Like, because I think back when I was in high school, I didn't really know guys that were like that messy with stuff. Um, like they were definitely given more permission and freedom to talk openly about sexuality. But then again, I was raised in like a religious environment where people didn't really express much about sexuality and stuff. And that'll probably be the next topic. I feel like I've beat that topic to death, but it's a part of my life. Like, I can't, like, I still can't fully shake it. Like, I still know a lot of people involved with that religious life, and um, you know, that's just how it is. A big part of my social circle, upbringing, family, friends, family members are like very religious people, or at least culturally involved in very religious environments, and so it's hard for me to really um, not ever talk about it. But I know a lot of people have religious trauma and things, as do I, but I'm, you know, I don't have to fully live it, you know, in real time. I've made decisions about, you know, not wanting to be um, too involved with that kind of thing. Um, but I can talk about what it's like maybe not being part of a religious environment. Like I feel like there are negatives and positives to not being involved. Um, but this episode's getting like way longer than I wanted. Um, but I'll jump into that.